Hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly stretch class. Hope you've all had a good week. So as usual, we're going to sitting on our sit bones, crown of our head being pulled to the ceiling, back nice and straight, and we're just going to start with our usual little warm-up stretches. So placing your hands out to the side, take a few deep breaths in here. And then reaching up to the ceiling. Remember, point those tips of your fingers to the ceiling. Drop your shoulders, turn your palms around and push all the way down to the ground. And we'll do that again. Scooping up. Big stretch, keeping your back nice and straight. Fingertips to the ceiling. Drop your shoulders. Turn your palms around and push. Make sure you're getting that resistance. And one more time, scooping up, crowning your head, pointing up to the ceiling. Stretch, drop your shoulders, turn your hands around and push down to the ground. One more time. And drop your shoulders, push all the way down. Well done. Okay, I'm going to go up one more time. Drop your shoulders, turn your hands around and push down to the ground. Okay, this time hands come out in front, shoulder height. Bring your palms back to your shoulders. Touch your elbows and circle around. Really stretching out those rotator cuff muscles. Big stretch up past your ears, down the back, stretching out the shoulder blades. Try and keep your fingertips on the tops of your shoulders as you go around the whole time. Stretch it up. Point your elbows up to the ceiling, down and around, and up again. Keeping the crown of your head always up to the ceiling and your back nice and straight. Big stretch all around. This time in reverse, so we're going to bring our elbows behind us and then past our ears at the front. And then behind, up to the ceiling, past our ears, past our face, past our chest, and around. Making sure those sit bones are still engaged to the mat. Top of our head is stretching up to the ceiling. Really rotate those shoulder muscles, getting into the rhomboids. Big stretch around. Try and touch the elbows when you come down. Okay, give it a little wiggle. And next we're just going to place our left hand up, right hand comes over and stretch over to one side. Stretching out the obliques. Looking under our armpit and holding it here. And keeping stretching. Really feel it in that side, intercostal muscles and the obliques. And when you're ready, have a few seconds. Really feel that stretch in the oblique muscles. And the longer you hold a stretch, the better. And coming up and releasing. And then up with the other side. So a big stretch up with that hand. Bending your opposite arm and looking through your armpit. And we'll hold it here for another couple of minutes or so. Always engaging the sit bones, making sure they're on the mat. Give a nice stretch to those intercostal muscles on the side and your obliques. If ever it's too much, you can always come up, have a breath, and then come back into it again. And keep holding and coming out. Raising your hand, bringing it down to the mat. This time we're going to just stretch our neck muscles out a little bit. So hand comes over underneath our jaw and just gently bend to one side. Coming up and repeat on the other side. Arm comes over, gently grasp the cheek and lean towards that same arm. Good, okay, coming up. So we're just going to do some all-round stretches today. So we're going to use our opposite hand and come over to our knee and then bring our same arm behind us and stretch behind. Having a little back stretch, back twist like we did last week. Making sure we open up the pecs, crown of our heads being pulled to the ceiling. Back's nice and straight, sit bones are engaged into the mat, and just give that back a little gentle twist. Holding it here, and go a little bit further, walk around and coming back. Swapping your hands over, so opposite hand comes to your outer thigh, same hand goes behind you, open up that chest area and looking over that shoulder. For a little bit longer. Crown of your head being pulled to the ceiling. Back nice and straight. Walk it around a little bit further if you can. Holding here. And slowly walk your hands around. Give your shoulders a little rotate. Good, okay. We're now going to focus a little bit on our legs. So placing your left leg out in front of you, right foot tucked into your groin. Make sure you point that left toes up to the ceiling. Big stretch up, crown of the head being pulled, turn the torso and down towards that outstretched leg. Now remember, we're trying to hinge from the hips, so bring your hips forward and lean, hinge from the hips, so not rounding the back. As you can see, my hammies are very, very, very tight today, so I'm not getting very far down, but it's all about just hinging from the hip and feeling that stretch in the hammy and the calf muscle. If it's too much on the back of your knees, then you can bend your knee up a little bit. If you've got a resistant band, then you can pop that around the bottom of your foot, around the instep of your foot, and pull the band towards you, get a better stretch. I'm just going to hold it here for a couple of minutes. Obviously, the longer we can hold it, the more it gets into the tendons and the ligaments, not just stretching the muscle belly. So walk your hands down further. If you're started off on your knee, you can walk it down the calf, walk it to the ankle, walk to the toes. Stretching and slowly coming up. Okay, very slowly, popping the other leg out. So putting your right leg out, stretch, left foot into the groin, points of the toes pointing up to the ceiling, and big stretch up, turning your torso towards your thigh and hinging from the hip. I'm very stiff today. If you can, clasp around your feet, hinging from the hip again, flexing that foot. Really feel the stretch in the hammy and our calf muscles, engaging the leg that's outstretched all the time. Making sure our sit bones are on the floor, engaged in the mat. Pull back on those toes if you can. If you've got a resistant band, like I said, put that around the instep of your foot and pull it back. So it'll help get into the muscle. Keep stretching. Feel it going into the calf, pointing the toes up to the ceiling. And try and relax into the stretch. Okay, slowly coming up. Well done. Okay, this time we're going to pop both legs outstretched. Oh, I'm very tight. Coming onto those sit bones. If you need to wiggle around again. And then we're going to clasp our hands together out in front of us. Reach forward, hinging from the hip and going around like we're stirring a big pot. So around we go. So going down to one foot, out to the front, around to the other foot, and then back. Keeping those legs engaged, those feet flexed, toes pointing up to the ceiling. And the further around we go and the more rotations we do, the more flexible we get in those hip joints. Then we're going to reverse, go back the other way. Round we go. You might find one side's a bit more flexy than the other. I'm very stiff today in my legs. Round we go. Couple more times. Okay, and then from here, lifting your knees up, helping them in. Okay, we're now going to come onto our all fours. We're in tabletop position. So remember when we're in tabletop position that our knees are underneath our hips and our wrists and elbows are in line with our shoulders. Our back is nice and straight. And we're just going to do a couple of cat and cow. So arching and dropping into cow. Arching our back, breathing in as we do so. And dropping our belly button down to the mat and looking up. So a nice arch of the upper back. Try and get into the lower back as well. And then coming through and bending. Just loosening up the back. Then we're going to place our toes together, sitting back on our heels, reaching forward, engage those arms and coming into what we call child's pose. But we're actually using this as a really nice stretch. So stretching our knees should be out further than the mat, sitting back on our heels and stretching out those arms. The ears should be between the upper arms, and if you can reach your forehead down to the mat, then try and do that. Keeping the arms engaged the whole time. Nice stretch of the shoulders. This is a nice relaxing pose as well. Relieves headaches. So if you have a headache, come into this pose. Okay, keeping those arms engaged, pushing back on the heel, pushing back on the sit bones to touch the heels. And stay here. Okay, I'm going to take some deep breath in and out. Engaging those arms still, making sure they don't collapse down to the mat. I want them still to be engaged and stretching. Good stretch for the rhomboids as well across the top of your back. And slowly coming out. Okay, coming back into tabletop. We're going to take our hands a little bit further forward, so not directly under our shoulders anymore. Then we're going to raise our right hand and thread it through underneath our left arm, bend our left arm, and then collapse our head so our ear is down on the mat or as close to, and we're going to really stretch that arm through so it's opening up the shoulder blade. So you really should feel that stretch across and under the shoulder blade. That's up. Make sure the palm of your hand is face down. For a deeper stretch, you can walk your fingers a little bit further out, so creep it out. Remember to keep your knee in line with your hip. Engage that arm that is bent, pushing into the mat. Good. Just relaxing here. Okay, slowly coming up and swapping sides. This time bringing your left hand through, thread it underneath, creep it out, palm down, and then just dropping the side of your head, or placing your ear down on the mat and holding it here. Feel that stretch in the shoulder blade. Remember to keep that arm that's bent, that's stabilizing you. Remember to keep that active. If you need to move it to a more comfortable position, then you can do that. The weight needs to be in that hand. Making sure it's engaged. And holding here. Keep holding for a little bit longer. Pushing into the mat. And slowly coming out. Back into our tabletop position. And then we're just going to rock our hips from side to side, keeping our knees, if you can place your knees together. And we're going to swing from side to side, eventually coming down to the mat and just giving the floor a little tap. Just loosening up that lower back. Good. And then coming back into tabletop. So wrists come underneath our shoulders, knee underneath our hip. Going to tuck our toes under and give a good push. So pushing those sit bones up to the ceiling. We're going to flatten our back so our ears come between the upper arms. If you can get your heels of your feet down, that's great. And then we're just going to walk them towards the front of the mat and roll up. Roll your shoulders. Good. Okay, so in a standing position, we're just going to do our salutations. So coming to the front of our mat, hip distance apart, grounding our feet, crown of our head being pulled up to the ceiling, deep breath in, raising our arms above our head, hinging from our hips going all the way down to the ground. Looking up, coming into a half stretch, coming back down, placing our hands either side of our feet, right foot back, drop the knee, untuck the toe and opening up into a lunge and opening across the chest, feeling that hip flexor. Planting our hands back down by our left foot, tucking our right foot under, coming back into a plank. Lowering down, untuck our toes, coming up into a back bend, coming back down, tuck the toes under, pushing our sit bones up to the ceiling into a downward dog. Raising up our right leg, throwing it through our hands, dropping that left knee, untucking the toe, opening up again into the lunge, feeling that hip flexor, stretching of the left, placing our hands back down, tuck the left foot under, come back into a plank with the right leg, bend our elbows, coming down to a push-up, untuck the toes, coming up into the cobra, gentle back bend, coming back down. Tuck the toes under, pushing the sit bones up to the ceiling, back into downward dog. This time raising your left leg, bringing it through to your hands, and then bring your right foot through to meet them, bending your legs and uncurling your back vertebrae at a time. Give your shoulders a little rotation. And we're going to do that one more time on the other side. So raising your arms above your head, hinging from the hips, go all the way down, coming up into a half bend, back down, hands placed this time, left foot goes back, knee drops, untuck the toe, opening up from the chest, feeling that left hip flexor, planting your hands down by your right foot, tuck your left foot under, then coming back into the plank, bending your elbows, coming down into a little push-up, untuck your toes into the cobra, back down, tuck your toes under, pushing your sit bones up to the ceiling into a downward dog, lifting up your left foot, bringing it through your hands into the lunge, dropping that right leg, untuck your toes, opening up your chest, feeling the stretch in your right hip flexor. Opening up here, planting your hands down by your left foot, tuck your right foot under, coming up, bring your left foot down to meet it into a plank, bend your elbows down to the ground, untuck your toes up into the cobra. Tuck your toes under, pushing your sit bones up to the ceiling again into the last downward dog, lifting up your left foot, bringing it through, bring your right foot through to meet it and curling up. Well done. Roll your shoulders a couple of times. Okay, we're now going to come into our relaxation pose. So if you can find a wall or a chair or something like a sofa that you can just place your legs up against. Obviously, we normally use the wall, so making sure your sit bones are as close to either the wall or the chair that you're using. Then swing your legs up, engage your legs, try and have them straight if you can, or if you've just got a chair or a sofa, then they can be bent over that. But we're just going to rest here for 5 minutes. Okay. side. And when you're ready, slowly bending your knees, turning to the right side and slowly coming up to a seated position. There we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stretch class today, and I will see you all next week. Bye.